Welcome to my channel. This is a reading for Pisces for April 2020. I should just quickly mention this reading does contain general energies as well as something more specific to career and finance. The way I've laid out the cards is actually general cards are basically up above and in the center, and then to the left and the right are the more specific to career and finance reading cards. So I'll just quickly go do the overview first off, and that will be in relation to, again, general energies. I'll start with the two main cards in the center, which is Thorns and Devil. The general message that just in looking at the cards that I picked up would have been, it definitely looks like you have some obstacles coming up for you in April. It doesn't really speak so much to finances as it does some kind of problematic situation, is what I'm gathering. And the message that kind of came through is to do the right thing. So whether it's all resolved in April or not, or something down the road, that's for you to decide. But I do feel that there is some issue here because there's a tower moment, and it's also emphasized in a couple of places as a clarifier. But I believe it has to do with, sort of your emotional stability and happiness on that level. Just because I see a lot of cards that relate to swords, with the mind, the intellect, and things around emotion with cups. Sorry. So I'll just quickly go through, starting with the Thorns card. So the Thorns card is again in the center here, and that card speaks to weathering the challenges ahead that will bring in a new and positive future. So the card does bring challenges, and again, I see a lot of challenges throughout the month of April. So forearmed is forewarned, as they say. You can definitely circumvent a lot of your problems, if you're staying on the right path. Any problems that do occur generally are the result of maybe some mismanaged or mismanaged ideas or things that you had done maybe earlier on, and they've manifested themselves, and accumulated to date. So anyway, that's just putting it out there. But nonetheless, as far as thorns go, the card actually brings challenges and changes to your life. So in the month of April, there is going to be some changes, and for sure you've got tens in here as well, 10 of swords and that kind of thing, which speak to beginning and endings of cycles. So and there's also the Judgment card in there as well. I don't see anything in terms of legal matters specifically, but again, if you do the right thing and get things organized in the month of April, and you might circumvent a lot of these issues. So it's about having some discussions and clear things up. So the card again brings challenges, changes to your life. It could be that you're undergoing some mental distress or disappointments or heavy burdens. You're discovering who your loyal allies are. Maybe you had someone come into your life and indicate that they were a friend, and it turned out to be something else entirely. So it's really about you letting go of those things that no longer serve you, and the things that are causing some chaos around you are going to test your strength in the month of April. So it's really just about watching out for smiling assassins, as they say, and just be careful who you trust and who you confide in, because this is a time where, there is a possibility of some personal suffering and feeling let down, and that you're in some kind of emotional crisis. In terms of relationships, it could be that there's an end to a relationship, or a relationship that's proving to be difficult at this time. The relationship can be saved, if you're able to communicate with your friends or family or a partner member or whoever it is, just to clear the air, and, a gentle confrontation could settle that difference. So again, forearmed is forewarned, as the saying goes. But just to be aware that you do have some other options to clear the air here. So the career and money front is, harmony is the key to survival, for sure, trying to maintain balance. So you need to avoid arguments at all costs and keep tempers under control. So in terms of money issues, things could arise and some major decisions need to be made. But again, it's also about avoiding things like quick, rich schemes and all of that, and trying to watch your bank balance at this time, even though it might be tough, given there's a lot of loss and restriction and confinement and quarantine and all of that going on in the world at this time. So it's about sticking to your budget, and even though you've got a lot of bills rolling in, just know that, the changes will bring a stronger and a newer you. You're able to also take on some fresh new projects at this time and start to rebuild, and you will eventually enjoy a more positive outlook. So again, you do have some challenges ahead for the month of April. So think about all the possible areas that you have left some ends untied, and things that need to be cleared up so that there's no further misunderstanding, that kind of thing. Seek to balance things out again. Have those discussions so that you're not impacted in a way that just proves to be more draining than you would like it to be. Anyway, moving on to the Devil card here. This is, again, general energies for Pisces for April 2020. So take care immediately to avoid temptation and deceit. So whether it's on the part of yourself or on the part of another person, another party that might be involved here, it does look like there's some level of deceit. I also say that because there are, although it's not all in view here, you do have a Nine of Wands card that shows up with you being in the defensive position. You do show, the Four of Cups card showing some degree of loss. You still have the twos where you're trying to find balance, that kind of thing. But you do also have, I will mention, the universe is helping you out on some level toward the end of the month. Because there is a period of celebration going on there as well. But there's something contractual, something to do with a partnership, something to do with, whether it's a friendship or whatever, it's a coupleship of some sort. But there is some judgment coming through that relates around a tower moment. And there is still the Seven of Swords down toward the bottom. I'll try to pull that forward. These were some of the cards that were coming through. That just speak to what I was mentioning, that there's some deceit going on here, and there is the Judgment and the Tower card as well. And your advice cards toward the end are also in line with the same, but I'll go through those at the end. Those are also the Archangel Tarot Power deck cards. But so back to the Devil card. It's just about letting you know, and again, you have the Tower card down here as well. So, you've got a lot of things, Devil card over here. There is definitely something around deceit here in this reading for the month of April. Whether it's yourself, some kind of relationship tie or whatever that you have, there's something that's not quite right. So just to be aware of that. And again, false relationships, things of that nature. So again, with personal relationships, the Devil card is indicating that there is a domineering person that might come in and try to take control of your life. But just be extra careful about who you associate with. You want to strengthen your resources and protect your self-esteem before you get involved with any manipulation or abusive people. Somebody could be obsessed with you on some level as well. I mean, if we're talking about relationships, these are all potentialities. Somebody could be lying to you on those fronts with regard to, a personal relationship. Again, personal relationship has a spectrum there. Friendships, family, whatever it is, business relationships, that kind of thing. So, socially. So again, you want to avoid toxic relationships. These things can be dangerous for you. And because I see so many warning cards in the month of April, I would say take some preventative measures to, not in a defensive way, but to communicate so that you actually can resolve the issue. Okay, so moving on from that is just about being aware of who you confide in at this time, because there is some sense that your confidence will not be kept. So in terms of career and money, this is about you may become very consumed with an idea or a project, or you might become very obsessed with getting rich and wanting an expensive car or expensive things, this kind of thing. So you want to be careful to avoid those get-rich-quick schemes, especially in the month of April. This was sort of general energies, as I say. General energies never just start and stop in the month of April. Things layer over the course of a year. But again, it's just about overspending, just to be really miserly and careful with your money at this time. It's about avoiding overspending, any gambling or propensities toward investing in large-scale things. Just avoid all of that for the time being until we get through April, and then see where you stand. But it could also speak to bullying, in work and business, that kind of thing. So you don't want to play the victim. You want to be able to, stand in your power, be empowered, and speak up for yourself. So those are just sort of the general energies, as I mentioned. And moving on to, I guess we'll start with the cards on the side here, which is the Queen of the Light and the Word Lord. So the Queen of the Light, this is the Wisdom Hidden Realms deck, and this card here actually speaks to illumination, enlightenment, and celebration. So this is a period that is, over the course of April, but again, things can trail over into the following months, but it begins in April. So there is some kind of an ally that does come into your life, with this angel that is letting you know that there is success in your ventures. This angel is actually helping you to illuminate the important steps that you need to take on the path, and just to remind you that you do have the intellect, you do have the brilliance, you are inspired, and your needs will be met. However, even though you are getting illumination and things are being shined on that correct path that is for your highest good, you also need to remain on the path of the highest good to be able to receive that from this angel. So this angel is this queen. She's bringing in the insight about how to manifest your reality, but she's also showing you the right actions to take and how to stand out and, be enlightened. And so you have worked hard to get to the point that you have at this juncture, but it's also, you need to be proud in standing tall in your convictions. So know that the truth of your situation is very important. In your heart of hearts, you need to be able to follow that path from one of true conviction. So anyway, there are rewards for your perseverance, and your willingness to learn are on the way with this card. So again, that's general energies over the course of the month. It's not to, detract away from anything successful, but also it's just to be mindful about that you're not acting out of your ego, and that, you look at things for what they are and not for the glitter and the glamour and the things that are standing out to you. You want to avoid superficial dreams of that society, imparts on you, and try to remain in a place of grounded, what's the word I'm looking for? Justice or grounded. I'll just say grounded truth, I guess, for lack of better term right now. But you wanted to stay grounded in your truth and make sure that your intentions are coming from a deep place within. So, you want to be able to say to yourself, what can I offer? What can I give? That kind of thing. Wealth really does reside within peace and harmony and that sense of purpose. That kind of light that is being imparted with this Queen of the Light doesn't come from, garish, cold, manufactured, warm, brilliant, or it is a warm, brilliant kind of light. It's not manufactured. It's not, from the glitter. It's not from the monetary aspects. It really is coming from an inward place versus an outward attachment to goals or materialistic things. So again, it's just to help you stay on the right path. I get the feeling that this is one about temptation. So, with so much devil energy in this card and deception and that kind of thing, I feel that there might be a little more of a veering toward greed or something along that line. And, if that, just to be aware that blessings come when you stay in your truth. So the next card is the Word Lord, and that one actually speaks to communication and praise and dishonesty. So the Word Lord is ruling communication of all kinds, whether it's on the internet, whether it's mail, email, blogging, whatever. It's, some form of truth that's out there that's spoken. So anyway, the idea around the card is just to speak with positive words and praise, and it reminds you of the laws of abundance and praise. So when you are coming out, when you are sharing in the world with others, that energy will in turn come back to you as well. But, when you're sending out energy to the world in a form that is deceptive or, has some one-sided gain, you have to be aware that those things eventually have kind of a karmic buildup. I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So, each one of us has that power to resonate in the universe in a particular way. And so you have to reflect on how you want to show up in the world. So some of the challenging aspects of this card, with the word Lord, revolve around untruths. So it's giving you a gentle warning about untruths, denial, or unsupportive thoughts that you might have in your head. Or if you've been dishonest in any particular way, you need to change your tune and find another way to impact the world and right some of those wrongs. So again, it's about being proactive and helping to minimize some of the impact of, the tower moments or the negativities that might present themselves here. As I mentioned, there's quite a few cards in this month of April. So you want to try to stay on the right path so that you get the right energy coming towards you. Anyway, it's also speaking to don't be self-deprecating. So don't minimize yourself in front of others to minimize yourself. When you stay on the right path, you have a reason to feel empowered and to stand up for yourself. And you don't really need to even justify it. If you know that you're coming from a place of truth, it's not for you to speak to everybody and reaffirm them that you are, doing what's good for all. So it is again about, would the word Lord basically help you to win this game of life? And it is based on you changing the unconscious statements. You have to change something to be able to maintain that positive frame of mind. So moving past that, we are into the Impressionist Tarot, and I really like this one too. I just find it really inspiring. Although again, I do find there is a lot of heavy cards in this reading. It's not to say there is no positive. I mean, for sure you have some elements of positivity coming through, and toward the very end of the month, there is something along that line as well, on an emotional front here. So there must be you're doing some kind of adjustment through the period of April that will help to resolve things. So moving into the first card here, this is actually the Ten of Cups. And the Ten of Cups actually speaks to happier times. And, I'll just read from the book itself. This is from Claude Monet. This is the painter. He painted this, it's called Bridge Over Pond of Water Lilies in 1899. And his quote is, "I'm very happy and I'm very delighted, for I am surrounded here by all that I love. I spend my time out of doors, and then in the evening, I come home to my little cottage to find a good fire and a dear little family." And that's the Ten of Cups. So this, I feel, is, what you aspire to. This is what you would like. But I'm seeing that the Tower card is so closely connected to it that perhaps there is a disruption on the family front. Maybe there is a lot of arguments going around or going on. I realize that people are in close quarters, and sometimes it's difficult to walk away from problems or difficulties when there's nowhere to go because everybody is, directly in the next room or in close proximity. So anyway, that again is the Tower card, and that card speaks to, whenever Vincent van Gogh has a quote or had some thoughts on that. He says, "Whenever we see the image of indescribable and unutterable desolation, of loneliness, poverty, and misery, the end and the extreme of things, the thought of God comes into one's mind." So, whatever God is for you, it could be spirit, it could be a relative that's since passed, and somebody that you feel that you want to confide in to ask for some guidance is probably a good idea at this time for the month of April. I feel that you need to have some resource here just to stay strong and weather through the month of April. So again, with the Tower card, it speaks to. It actually represents that the depiction of the card is an old church. It's a tower, and it is the peasants' churchyard. In 1885, that was painted here, and so from Vincent van Gogh. So while he was it was actually, I should just mention, it was the old church is a tower at Neuen. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but it's Nuenen, and it was a crumbling Romanesque chapel that stood for almost 7 years. So Van Gogh painted it, and it was just a tribute to the simple, humble lives of the peasants who for centuries have been laid to rest among the fields in which they rooted when alive. So the ruin tells me how a creed and a religion have mouldered away, even though they were so well established. How, nevertheless, the life and the death of the peasants is and remains the same, always sprouting and withering like the grass and the flowers that are growing in this graveyard. So it may be that maybe something within yourself has taken a back seat or has dwindled away, or you haven't allowed it to stay intact. You haven't been... maybe you've been in a really negative mindset. Maybe there was some element of greed or something here, or something that was deceptive that, you have allowed to take away from your credibility. But you still have opportunities to right all of that, to correct things. So, whatever it is, just know that a tower can be rebuilt, but towers have a military purpose, and they serve as armories and battlements, bomb shelters and prisons, that kind of thing throughout history. And it really, the function of it was just that it was a post, an alarm post, or a haven, a political asylum. So the card is really of energy and aggression and self-defense. So I feel that that may be a place where you're feeling something along that same line, some kind of a crisis, something has shocked you, some kind of monumental change or sudden or drastic transformation has been required of you. But either way, there is a sense that you feel, whether it happens or not, it's a sense that you feel that your structure is somehow compromised, that you have something, you've left something unsafe. Something is not safe, whether it's a relationship or a home or a career. It just symbolizes a loss of that faith. So it can be also the destruction of false ideas and beliefs, something that you need to take a look at and make some introspection, do some introspection to make some changes on. Maybe you've put yourself into a negative mindset, and you need to rid yourself of that toxic energy, because even with devil energy as well, that can also speak to a lot of negative thought patterns, a lot of circular thinking, overindulgences, drinking, that kind of thing. It can speak to addictions, all of that. So you want to pull back and really think about what it is that you're putting into your head, and whether or not that is truly the character, that you want to be. So, or the person that you want to be, because it feels like something, you've lost a little sense of yourself here, which for whatever reason you've stepped into. I'm not sure what that would speak to, but anyway, okay, so moving past the Tower, there is the Ten of Swords, and it's also followed by the Nine of Swords. You've also got the Two of Cups, which is, also that's a harmony card down here. And then you've got the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands, again, is a card that is you being defensive and all of that. Eight of Swords. Eights are about, coming out of things and transitioning and moving to a happier place. But I do see that... sorry, that was the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords actually speaks to boredom. So maybe you're sitting at home, as the rest of us all are, a little restless. But the card actually speaks to, I would rather, well, I'll just say Vincent van Gogh's quote on that is, I would rather die of passion than of boredom. So it's really just a farmer who's napping and, they're just idle. So nothing bothers him because he's too tired to notice it. So on an inspirational note, the card itself is called the Siesta or Noon. It's the rest from work from 1890. So over the period of 3 months in the asylum of that Van Gogh was in at Saint Remy, he made 21 copies of Millet's works. And he is claimed to have said, if someone plays Beethoven, he adds his own personal interpretation in the music, especially in the singing. The interpretation also counts, and the composer doesn't have to be the only one to perform his compositions. So he says, anyway, especially now I am ill, I am trying to create something to comfort me for my own pleasure. So this card is speaking to the sun and how it passes through to highlight our curiosity and communication. It's highlighting communication. It's highlighting these things. The sun has an intensity to fuel a sign that already thinks too fast and talks too much. It's not sustainable energy. It is one that will burn out inevitably if it's maintained at too high a pace. So it could be that you are burning out and that you felt some kind of sense of disruption or negativity or defeat or distress, and you're just exhausted. So this is really you in a place of escape. So beyond that is, again, the Eight of Swords. And the Eight of Swords is telling you that you are moving out of that energy. Again, these are general energies over the course of April, so not specific to any one week or day. But the Eight of Swords is about releasing, self-sabotage, that kind of thing as well. But again, it's self-imposed. It's a self-imposed mental anguish that you're causing yourself. So Vincent van Gogh, also painter of this one, says, I feel a certain calm. There is a safety in the midst of danger. What would life be if we had no courage to attempt anything? So again, it speaks to you holding yourself back on something or not being true to yourself on some level, and you've let something erode within yourself, when really this is not really congruent with who you are. So, it's about, the picture is about sitting, and it was done in 1888, and just in terms of a little background on Van Gogh actually was a voracious reader, and he was somebody who read and prolifically spoke 4 languages, which is kind of interesting. I wasn't aware of that. But anyway, in terms of the card itself, it is a card of being flooded with ideas, but sometimes we can be so flooded with ideas that we drown in our possibilities. So, it's also about you not seeing the damage that you're causing by doing something. So just to be aware, you need to find a way to free yourself from the bonds of entrapment. And again, they're self-imposed. No force is impacting on you. There's something to do with your own mental state, your own level of consciousness, whether it's some issue of right and wrong, but you've allowed yourself to slip into this, and it is hindering you. So again, it's a card of bondage, entrapment, imprisonment, and victimization. But 8s are about overcoming that. So, you are getting through it, but you need to right some wrongs or communicate something before that happens. And with the 2 of Cups, again, 2s are about finding balance. So you are moving toward that energy of harmony. So, the card actually is speaking to attraction, affection, affinity, and harmony in itself, in a nutshell. But Claude Monet had painted this one, and the card represents, people discuss my art and pretend to understand as if it were unnecessary to understand. As if it were necessary to understand. So people discuss my art and pretend to understand as if it were necessary to understand, when it's simply necessary to love. So when you bring yourself back to that level of truth, that level of honesty, that level of that's really a part of you, you unburden yourself. you know, and I feel, again, you are self-imposed restrictions here. I think that there's a lot of weight that you're under, and certainly there's a way through. You know, everything can be discussed, everything can be managed. But anyway, Nine of Wands is the following card. That one is really a card of deliberation, discipline, reason, and recovery. So that's very good overall energies for the month. It does again speak to, that's Edouard Manet, Manet. And he says, I would kiss you had I the courage. So he's not feeling very safe and secure and motivated. It's a young man that's really adrift in a rowboat here. And he's surrounded by the open water. And he's untethered and he's unmoored. And he casts his gaze toward us. And his oar isn't in the water. Instead, it's tangled up with the 8 other blades. So, you know, this is a wounded warrior. He hasn't rallied his defenses. He's feeling maybe a little bit like a lone wolf here, that the odds are stacked against him and that he needs a plan. And I will say, Pisces, you're a very intelligent sign. So I do feel that you will come up with a plan. You will be able to communicate, fall back into your truth, and pull yourself out of this. In 1874, this painting was a painting called Boating. And he could practice, you know, Manet painted during the summer of 1874, but it also speaks on the banks of the river Seine, Seine, but it says that he could practice his open air painting techniques. He could also capture the fashionable Paris elite in their boating clothes and picnic dresses and trendy hats, because he was an explorer and an adventurer. As far as the card goes in terms of illumination, you know, the card represents explorer and adventurer, and, you know, meditative influences as it goes through to the moon. And it's just taking that time to reflect on your past travels and plan for the next voyage. So there's definitely, you know, a leaving behind of past negative mindset and moving into a better mindset. Anyway, until you understand your moods, it's best just to sit quietly and wait to see what the tide brings in. So it's just, as I mentioned, a card of deliberation and discipline and reason and recovery. So just to get into, I'll go through the end cards, which I know you can't see, but these are the Archangel Power cards. It's Strength and New Beginnings. They're the advice cards, and then you have the Ace of Michael and the 8 of Raphael as well. So I'll read those at the very end, and I'll just get right to the immediate reading. As I mentioned, I did feel that there was a lot of heaviness in your reading for the month of April. Again, it doesn't mean that it's mostly in your mind. It's mostly things that you're putting yourself through because you probably, frankly, have more time to think about it. And again, it's still about refocusing and creating a plan and a mindset and communicating your thoughts with the right people, but not to trust in all people, because you are being given some indicators that somebody that you considered a friend may not be operating, or business partner may not be operating with good intentions. So starting out with the first card here, this is actually the 5 of Wands, and the 5 of Wands speaks to you being extra careful with money that you receive, just to be very cautious. You know, you might be competing for the money. Usually the card does indicate a good outcome, but it can indicate some rewards, but what I'm picking up here is that there's some minor hiccups ahead here for the month of April in terms of money. Not big upheavals in terms of money. I think it's more relationship upheavals or partnership upheavals, just because of the Tower moments and the cups. But as far as money in itself, I don't feel that there's a lot of disruption on that front yet. Not for the month of April. So with the 5 of Wands, there's a lot of struggle. You might be feeling that the world is against you, but you're really battling yourself. You need to stop battling yourself and start to set down some priorities. You know, you're just reprioritizing. It's just you with inner conflict here. You know, you feel that maybe everything that you're doing is wrong, but it's not. It's not that everything is going wrong. It could be just a clash of personalities. It just means that, maybe there's a rivalry going on, or there's some kind of frustrating circumstances. You're just feeling challenged or persecuted, but it is resolvable. The solution, of course, is to remain ethical. And with the Nine of Swords here, the Nine of Swords speaks to you being up in your head. You're still you're still feeling mentally in anguish of some sort. You're still feeling anxiety over whatever it is that has come up for you in the month of April. But there is quite a few sword cards here that sort of speak to a progression of that, because you've got the 5, you've got the 9 of swords, you've got the 10 of swords down here. So it is a progressive movement. You also have the Knight of Swords. You have the Ace of Swords here as well. So again, it's a progression of issues that you're dealing with mentally. But anyway, it is a mental conflict of some sort that you need to overcome. But again, it does actually speak to, because it's right between the 5 of Wands, and it's right between the Devil card. That anxiety, where you're just too wrapped up in your own problems here, is, I suspect the Devil card is about all that negative thinking. It's about, not thinking logically. It's about all those nagging thoughts, things that are keeping you up at night. It's about that overindulgent, energy that you're giving to your shortcomings. It's important to remember during these difficult times not to give into addictive patterns or manipulation or negative thinking. It's these limited perceptions are just that. They're self-imposed, they're limited, because they might be just entirely self-centered, and it is a controlling, obsessive energy here with the Devil, and one of domination. So that animalistic behavior might sound great because it feels like it's strong and empowering, but it's not. It's a form of bondage, and over time you're having to safeguard things from 15 different angles, and it doesn't lend to credibility. So you really need to watch that and try to remain in a more interactive, level, middle ground way is what I would say. Because, as I say, I see so much of a fluctuation with negative patterns and negative thinking here, from the Devil card, the Thorns card, the Tower moment, the Devil card here, the anxiety, the self-battling, the 10 of Swords here as well with, relating to beginning and ending cycles, but there's so much heaviness that, you need to let up on yourself, or whoever is around you, wherever this energy is coming from, you need to step back from it because it's not healthy for you. So you also have the Knight of Cups here, and the Knight of Cups is a card that actually speaks to protection. So think of it that way. Even though there's a lot of upset going on, you are still being divinely led. Like you do still have some protection here. Everything is still within your control, I feel, within the month of April. Is just dependent on how you enact that power that you have, or that logical front that you have. So just remember, again, to stay grounded, and not to over obsess, but just to make sure that you're doing the right thing and you're staying in a place of empowerment. So again, with the Knight of Cups, this is one of a card of creativity as well. It could represent a person, somebody who is, a seducer or seductress, or somebody who has healing protection, over you. But it is a positive message overall. It is about somebody who can be inspiring, or you inspiring somebody else. It can represent a younger energy. It can also represent somebody who can be a little bit narcissistic as well. But in terms of the card itself, as far as qualities, it doesn't have to be in relation to a person. It could be just the message of, coming through to stay inspired. Live your soul purpose, living your soul's purpose, and following the right path. You you have a desire and a drive to understand things. So use that to your advantage, and don't settle for the status quo. Be creative in how you care about the things around you. Because again, with the Knight of Cups, that is somebody who does care about things around them, and how they're perceived. It does represent a Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. I suspect it could even be yourself, just because it is Pisces that's coming through here. But it is also a message that somebody is here on a mission. So with the night's period, or messengers coming through, there's news of some sort, and it's moving in a forward direction here as well. But again, it is an indicator that there's some kind of message on the way, but there's also a sense of a mission here as well. So in terms of love, I mean, it could even be that you're inspired by someone in a romantic way, but I just overall feel that the message is, you're on some kind of a mission here to get through, because there's defensive cards here. You've got the Seven of Wands. You're still defending yourself here throughout the month of April. This is toward the end of, the beginning of the month here. So again, from the Five of Wands, quarreling over nothing is really what that first card speaks to. You just, feeling that internal struggle, and you're battling yourself. And then having it move to the Seven of Wands. So clearly it's progressing here. There's some deeper fears. This is a clarifier for the Devil card. So clearly there's some fears, some anxiety, there's vulnerability. There's a feeling that you need to meet, resistance, that kind of thing. But in terms of feelings, it's you being defensive and just feeling like you need to assert yourself or get your point across, that kind of thing. Feeling that you're misunderstood, and maybe misunderstood with peers as well. But anyway, overall, it's just about battling against the odds. So on to the next one, which is the Queen of Pentacles. Somewhere along the line here, there is the Queen of Pentacles represents, again, a person, in the home. Could be a relationship that you're involved with, could be friends, family, anybody around you that is, sort of a calm energy, somebody who is always considerate to family, who always tries to do the right thing, just a really good-natured, grounded kind of person, grounded in the practical, meaning that they're always worried about other people, and they try to do what's right for everybody. They have a nurturing personality, that resourceful, sensible, dependable kind of person. Somebody who supports family. Could be certainly a good multitasker as well, and somebody who's quite creative and resourceful. So, but a home-loving person nonetheless. So that's the energy around there. And then it ends on another clarifier, which is the Page of Cups. So pages, again, are about messages coming through, but it's also about creativity. So on an emotional level, the Page of Cups can speak to new opportunities and things that are coming through that, might relate about. And I would also say that this is also something to do, I would say, with things that the universe is synchronizing something for you. They're trying to make something happen so that, you've got inspiration. Even though this card does represent an artistic feeling and for sure unexpected inspiration, that kind of thing, it's also a card that speaks to you, like it's positive news that's coming in, important information, but it speaks to you being really clear-minded and trusting your intuition. And the reason why I say it's even more clear-minded is because it does follow beside, you've got the Ace of Swords, and that's about that clear-minded, thought pattern, with the Knight of Swords also coming through, speaking to the same or reinforcing. And then there's finally the Ten of Wands, all as clarifiers, and the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords, as I mentioned, was, you getting past an old cycle and transitioning into a new cycle. So something is ending that is a negative, and you are able to get past it in the month of April, because the Page of Cups is about I feel. So the card is about I feel. It's about, again, still a good omen. It can also speak to, a shy person or somebody who's always overlooked for credit, that kind of thing, but somebody who wants to escape often. But I do feel that with the Page of Cups, that it's all relating around something being synchronized for you, some kind of unexpected gift, or some kind of something that's, it can even speak to forgiveness as well, finding it in your heart to forgive, or forgiving your inner child, forgiving yourself. It could be anything along that line, but it's also about strong psychic abilities at this time and creative ideas, and that you should be trusting your intuition. And feel free to dream with this card. And again, it still represents a Pisces, Cancer, Nature, Scorpio. So again, that's just something to be aware of. But in terms of money, it's basically a card just saying continue what you're doing. You know, things might be improving here, but nothing too dramatic to speak of. So moving on past that, the next card is this is a Libra Virgo energy. So somebody around you is a Libra or a Virgo energy, and it's somebody who can be a little bit sharp-tongued, you know, maybe a little abrupt, and not approach you in the way that you're comfortable with, but it is still a very intuitive person. And this is somebody who is very strong-willed and, you know, but totally honest, lively intellect, very upfront and straightforward. They use their intuition as, you know, kind of their secret weapon. But it is somebody who tells it like it is. They're very realistic. They're empathetic and adaptable, that kind of thing. But overall, it can't even speak to somebody who's very entrepreneurial in nature as well, but they're overall somebody who can resolve problems and fast thinkers and very realistic. So again, energy of that around you, or again, it could speak to, you know, going from the Page of Cups into the Queen of Swords, you know, that you're taking on this mental clarity, and it is being highlighted with a card of optimism and faith and hope in that relationship there, either to yourself or this Virgo Libra energy. There's also an end to something here. So again, I don't feel it's an end of a relationship there, just because it is followed by the Star card, and the Star card generally tends to be one of optimism and, you know, letting you know that you're on the right path, that you've got some divine assistance coming through here. You know, it's definitely a very positive omen, but it is speaking to, the Death card is about a transition, end of a cycle. So it can't even speak to the tax man as well. It does make some kind of reference there, although I don't see, you know, another card necessarily supporting that, as far as the Emperor or some authoritative Hierophant, that kind of thing, which usually would be in line. But again, that's just sort of a side note. But again, the card is about letting go of the past, and it does indicate some growth. It's letting go of the negative attachments. It's going back to basics, you know, with the Death card. You know, it's about having to make some sacrifices so that you can gain some control back over your life again. And of course, being aware of the way that you react to obstacles, and just eliminating the things that, you know, that you're not able to control, or that don't benefit your life in a positive way. So, but again, you know, because the Libra Virgo card, or that relationship, or that, that card also speaks to protection, but it also indicates that to keep hope alive, you know, and just to be optimistic as well. So, and it is a card of inspiration with the Star card. So down to the last 3 cards here. Actually, I think it was 2 cards, and the rest or 3 cards, and then I pulled clarifiers on the rest. So what I'm getting here was, you have the 2 of the Lovers, actually, the Lovers, and you also had the 2 of Cups, I believe. But the 2s, again, were about finding balance and all of that. And that was clarified by the 9 of Cups. So again, there's some kind of, you know, happy union that's occurring here with the Lovers card. So it's, again, with a friendship or a family member or a love relationship, whatever it is for you, that might have had some bad energy or bad break or negativity. The card is actually letting you know that there is something on the forefront that is moving in a positive direction, because it is followed by the 9 of Cups, which is about wish fulfillment and happiness and completeness. And again, the Lovers card also speaks to completeness as well, and it's also about making moral choices and taking the high road, and it's decisions that are based on, you know, authentic values. So it is about difficult paths that test those moral convictions, but it's also a protection card. So even though you might be being tested, it is still saying that you're protected enough to be able to, correct your situation or fix it in whatever way. Like, it sounds like there's some kind of wrongdoing here, is what I'm gathering on a lot of levels, but it's nothing that is permanent. There is some kind of a change coming with the Lover's card, but it's a positive change. And again, because it is also followed by the Two of Pentacles, I feel that this is some kind of healed situation by the end of April, because the Two of Pentacles is all about balance and juggling things, and that's followed by the Ace of Cups, which again is, about that sense of fulfillment coming through, heightened feelings, but could be, new job or relationship of some sort that is mended. But as a feeling, it's a reconciliation of some sort, making peace with something, whatever that difficult situation was that you were going through. But again, it's also a card of new job, new opportunity, new project. It's about a healing, it's about creativity, new awareness, that kind of thing. And it's about trusting your intuition. And there is the potential for making money with this card because you are being given the universal blessing. So whatever's happening in April is creating a new foundation for you to be able to go forward with that deeper connection, that new love or that new awareness or that new job or new opportunity. Whatever it is that's new for you, the universe is supporting it. So again, just to clarify, some of the clarifiers behind that were, you've got the Three of Cups, which is abundance and celebration and, people supporting you. You do have a tribe of sorts that are there for you. You also have the Seven of Cups, which means you either have a lot of options or a lot of choices. It can also speak to, still going through a lot of anxiety because it is followed by the Nine of Wands. So again, that's about, maybe not trusting in the universe entirely or in some kind of collaboration of sorts, just because it is clarifying that universal blessing. So again, I feel like you're just a little bit standoffish, not really sure how to maybe take that universal blessing. But it is in regards to, there's a father figure of some sort here that's coming through who's a very inspiring character, or somebody that is either you or someone else that's around you. And that's also followed by the Four of Cups. Again, these are just all clarifiers. So again, it's about, I would say, you being more inspired following this situation after you are given this blessing from the universe at the end of April. So maybe there's some kind of a payout or some kind of an idea or something that comes to you. I don't know that I see it as a full payout or anything, because I don't see a lot of pentacles or anything there, but it's certainly an emotional payout of sorts. But again, with the Four of Cups, I feel that you did feel like you were going through some kind of a sense of loss. You were still doubting yourself. There was still something that needed to be understood, discontent. There's an unfulfilled feeling here, even a suspicious one, but it is still a time of introspection. You might not have felt that there was a clear answer coming through with the Four of Cups. And again, the clarifiers I forgot to mention with the Lover's card was also the Two of Cups. So, and again, under the Lover's card was the Nine of Cups and also the Judgment card. And the Judgment card came through regarding the relationship, that there would be some kind of a tower moment. So it's probably some kind of a misunderstanding that comes through there toward the end of the month. But then it's followed by the Nine of Cups, or the Nine of Wands, which is a card, letting you know that there's a younger energy that's coming through around here that might be a little deceptive to you. With the Seven of Swords, somebody who's just maybe trying to get away with something, not really sure there. But again, Knights are about information coming through. So, and it's a fast, expedient message because it is a Knight of Wands. So with the Knight of Wands, as I mentioned, the message is something about thievery or stealing, or even, again, could be even with your own mindset. But the Knight of Wands does represent extremes of energy as well. So somebody could be really enthusiastic, in speaking to a person, but a knight is generally about action or an expression. So I feel that is where this is going, less about an actual person. But I feel that the message here is that the Seven of Swords is something you just need to be aware of, that that there is something around you that's a little bit deceptive, or some trickery of some sort that's going on. Again, it can also speak to lack of conscience. So whether it's yourself or somebody else, somebody's being a little bit narrow-minded, but it is about forces opposing you. It's also about obstacles, being in the way, but again, you're finding ways around it. But it can speak to, mental manipulation. It can speak to theft, failure, just some unknowns out there. And in terms of feelings, it can also represent, feeling a lot of alone time, observing things from a safe place, not sharing your thoughts, not trusting others, but it's about, like I said, just feeling like things are out of control to an extent. But it does end, on the note of, again, the blessing from the universe. But I think that the message coming through was that you just felt a little bit of out of control regarding this Two of Cups and the Lovers, because they all relate together. And again, they're all emotional cards. So I feel that some kind of relationship you felt wasn't quite stable, or you didn't know how to deal with it. But it is a balancing of events with the Two of Cups, and again with the Two of Pentacles and the Two for the Lovers. It is still a card of reconciliation and forgiveness, that kind of thing. So I still feel that there's a lot of hope here for the month of April, despite a lot of the tower moments and the heaviness. But again, it's a lot of emotional weight that you're carrying here, and it is resolvable. Because, as I mentioned, you do have the cards of Strength, New Beginnings, Ace of Michael, and Eight of Raphael. So I'll just give you, these are the advice cards here. So the Strength card says, strength and grace, through kindness, self-confidence, and forgiveness. So I'll start with that one. There's only 4 cards left here. So the Strength card, again, is about you standing in your own power. It's really about you finding a way to, empower yourself again and get through a problem. You're far stronger than you thought you were, but it's about taking a sensitive approach in the face of any challenge, being self-confident and using self-control, being patient, forgiving and inner strength, and, all of that. And not to cause yourself unnecessary worry or being impatient. It's just about kindness and understanding with this card. So following that again was New Beginnings and starting a new life, finding your purpose, forgiving and compassionate review of the past. So, that was a card again of just that, you moving past problems. You're able to review your personal history and make some changes, things that will make a difference for you. You're moving toward a new destination. You're feeling confident, and some joy is the advice cards. And that where situations or decisions are now actually going to be made positive for you. So it can speak to legal settlements as well, favorable outcomes, tests, examinations, anything like that, and answering a calling, and finding your purpose, and basically just overall starting a new life. And again, because that's also followed with the Ace of Michael and the Eight of Raphael. Eights are about moving past problems. So Ace of Michael is a wonderful new idea. Don't allow bumps in the road to hinder your progress. Clear up communication problems with others. Just that. With the Ace of Michael, you are being given some opportunity to resolve an issue and move past it. But again, this is just overall advice cards and energy for the sorry, I've got a cat in the room. I just have to keep my eye on her so she doesn't bounce up onto my cards here. But again, it's just about moving forward here and resolving old issues. So you're coming up with that wonderful idea. You've found a resolve for a problem. You're going full steam ahead. There's opportunity here. You're giving some attention to the details. You're making a plan of action. Things might have been a bumpy start, but you're not letting that deter you. You're able to move forward, and you're just being honest with yourself, and you're looking for that silver lining. Don't give up is what the card is saying. Don't allow misunderstandings to fester. Just get to the truth of the matter. And then the final card is the Eight of Raphael. So there is something better waiting for you. Do what you know is right for you. This is a spiritual quest. So again, with the Eight of Raphael, eights are about, as I mentioned, getting past things. So it's just that, your inward search for answers is going to be rewarded. So you're leaving the past behind, you're branding a new you, basically, and your past experiences help to shape you, and certainly they are helping to give you some clarity and understanding who you are today, and just to be grateful for the things that you've learned. It can, and build on that. It is, sorry, cat. Anyway, it does speak to a relocation or a job change or things along that line as well. But again, additional meanings for that could be that there's some kind of journey ahead and just a change of interest or a spiritual quest, but it's doing what you know is right for you. So that is the reading for Pisces. And again, that's for April 2020, career and finance. I know it was a little bit of heavy energy in there, but again, it's nothing that's sustaining. And certainly you do have a lot of hope to clear things up and communication, to clear things up with this reading. So, be proactive, do your due diligence, and make it work for you. As I say, being forewarned is being forearmed, is forewarned. And we'll talk to you in May.